The winter campaign week, a number I've forgotten. I think maybe 13.
It must be coming to the end of the winter campaign
I think
now, isn't
yes. That's what we're going to talk about next week. We will be wrapping up the winter campaign as we move into spring and our next campaign. So if you've missed any of these winter campaigns, we will do a wrap up of all the stuff we've spoken about and how successful it has been. Sorry, I forgot to introduce you, Will.
Hello, Jack.
Welcome
That's all right.
along.
Better late than never.
The late William Morris. Right, this week we are going to talk about a subject that slightly touches on last week, but addresses what we do as well as supporting those who are homeless, because as many of you will know, we support homeless and
The vulnerable.
people.
Yeah.
It's almost like that was the third take. So last week we spoke, Will, about how people come into the cafe
Yeah.
and we give them entertainment and advice and support on signposting and stuff like that. People who aren't homeless and do have that element of security in housing but may be vulnerable, who might not come down to the cafe, how do we engage with those people?
So it's important, as you say, Jack, the well-being and the sense of...
That's the word, well-being.
Yeah, of being positive about yourself. And actually, Danielle and her colleague from the Recovery Hub, which is all about engagement with those who are socially isolated. So they're living in property, successfully living okay lives, but they are all on their own in a lot of cases. So you've got the Recovery Hub that's started very recently. That's a new initiative. Of course, you've got lots of activity at the Signpost Centre. I'm forever seeing exciting stuff on their Facebook feed. You've got lots of local churches that do groups for young people, old people, anybody really. There's walking groups, there's a whole range. The thing is, if you're somebody who struggles to get to that place, then the problem is it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So,
And why we're covering this in the winter campaign is obviously it's cold,
yeah,
and it can be very,
Yeah.
very difficult, especially if you're part of a walking group or something.
yeah.
But there are many other things, like
there's knit and natter groups, there's...
you suggested the Recovery Hub.
Yeah.
We're in today, and they were talking about their baking, which
Yes.
coincides
Oh, I
with
like the
what
idea
we
of
do
that,
on a
yeah.
Friday.
Library, I'm talking to the folks down the library about the Friends of the Library group, which look at social activity within the library and other more rural locations, because this is not confined just to Stafford. So I was talking to Doug a couple of days ago about social isolation in the local rural community. So it's all about engagement and making sure that people are not outside of the loop and not left to fend for themselves for too long. Check on your neighbour, and if you haven't seen your neighbour and you haven't seen their curtains twitch or you haven't seen them, then what's the worst that can happen if you go around and ask for a bowl of sugar? The thing,
Especially again
yeah.
when it's been as cold. I know we're on the turn now, but
even
it still
so,
isn't
today
lovely
it's
and
very,
warm.
very cold. So it's about
freezing, isn't it?
looking out for your neighbour, people that you don't see around, people who are a little bit older. The other thing is social isolation is not just for the older person, because we know a lot of young people and people perhaps in their midlife times who are actually socially isolated.
And as we said to the people in the Recovery Hub, we're mainly talking about our friends, but
Yeah.
some of our volunteers who come
Yeah.
along, it can be, we were talking earlier, you can be lonely within a crowd.
Yes.
And a cloud.
And I think that's what people perhaps don't always get. So the importance is to keep a close eye on your neighbourhood, find out what those activities are if you're somebody who can influence somebody to go, or if you're watching this and thinking, I want to get engaged with some sort of activity, then there is a lot of choice out there. There really is, and it's available. That information is available across the internet, in the library, hard copies everywhere. It is out there, and there are a lot of people doing some great stuff.
And everywhere that's set up to help people like that, I know from personal experience, turning up somewhere, can be a huge thing, and actually talking to people. But in case of the Recovery Hub, they just do phone calls. If it's us, you don't have to come down to the cafe where there's thousands of people.
Yeah.
It could be just counting tins on a Tuesday
Yeah.
when there's no one else there.
In fact, one of the things that we want to launch perhaps in the spring, and this is the opportunity to do it, is the Hobline, which is part of addressing social isolation. So we have a system now, we have a telephone, and we're now looking to make those calls out into the community, and it's something we've wanted to do for ages, and I think the time for that has come now.
Okay, so that's what we do at House of Bread when we're not just addressing people who are homeless and at the point of crisis. There are lots of different things going on in lots of different people's lives, and a lot of it comes down to mental health, and you can't see mental health.
That's right.
You haven't got a cast, it's an old cliche. We all have mental health the whole time.
Yeah.
We exercise our physical bodies, we need to exercise our mental bodies.
Good point.
Right, thank you very much, Will.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to check out Hob News over on Sundays at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
If I get the right day to post it at 4 o'clock. It was delayed last week because I did it for Monday by accident.
So much going on, actually. Really, really excited. So do watch that.
Please like and share and send it to all your friends. It is relevant for everybody. We will see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.